think happy.
Hello random person, Sab Nino here. Welcome back to another tier list. Today we are doing Mega Bloks Spongebob and Lego Spongebob. Starting off with the one that started it all, Lego Spongebob. All opinions in this video are my own, so if there's something that you disagree with, then share your thoughts in the comments and just start a discussion, as long as it's civil, of course. But let's get started. Our first set is Heroic Heroes of the Deep. Definitely one of the more affordable Lego SpongeBob sets. It is a cool gimmick of SpongeBob and Patrick being superheroes. I do like the niche stock art. Remember that Man Sponge and Boy Patrick phase of stock art where they put SpongeBob in this blue hero costume that never appeared in the show whatsoever? It was really at its peak in like the 2010s. Yeah, Lego got in the mix of that, because this is the only hero minifigure of SpongeBob ever. And Plankton's also on this set, and he does get like a new face, which is really cool, and a cool little mech suit. Though it's a little bizarre how they changed the Krabby Patty formula design. I think the original actually looked better, but even though it's affordable, I'm gonna put it in C tier, solely because I think the theming could have been better. I know when the set name was released, people thought it was gonna be a Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy set, but that didn't end up happening. And honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that it wasn't. Like, that boat could have been the Invisible Boatmobile or some other vehicle, and SpongeBob and Patrick could have been either the Mermaid Man cosplays or the Quickster and the Elastic Waistband. I don't know. This was like way before SpongeBob merchandise really tried appealing to the fandom. This was definitely the era where they gravitated like almost against it. Like, sure, there's a lot of products with like SpongeBob references in 2011, but it felt like for the most part they were doing their own thing. Next up is Glove World, another C tier. I personally think this set deserves a bigger one, because Glove World is an amusement park, so go nuts with it. I do like the SpongeBob minifigure in the set, and it's cool getting another Sandy, which is bizarre because up to that point, Sandy wasn't in Glove World, and the last time I could think of where Sandy was in Glove World is SpongeBob's Bad Habit, but she wasn't having a good time. He was just stopping SpongeBob from biting his nails. Also, none of the builds in Glove World is actually in the actual Glove World. They're like just independent builds. Don't get me wrong, these builds could fit into a Glove World setting, and I get it for the sake of the build, but I don't know. I think they could have done better. The Flying Dutchman's Graveyard. I adore the Dutchman minifigure. He's really cool. And I love the pirate getup on SpongeBob and Patrick. Even though it's not the outfits they wore in ARG, honestly, for minifigure variety, I think the getup turned out a lot better than what they wore in that episode. Honestly, the minifigures are definitely a selling point to the set, though the downside has to be the build. I wish the ship was the main focus instead of it having an island. Like, keep the same price point, just make the Dutchman ship bigger, because it's a big fucking ship. I think it deserves a bigger set. I did make a video on what if Lego SpongeBob made a comeback, and I made like a replica of the Dutchman ship that was a lot bigger. I'm not expecting them to go that big, but something a little bigger would have been nice. But I do like the concept of a Flying Dutchman set. I'm happy we even got the Dutchman in a Lego set, because he's a character that doesn't get a lot of representation. Hopefully that'll change with the upcoming movie. But I'm gonna give it a B tier. And one of the final sets, Bikini Bottom Undersea Party. Oh, and the Dutchman was also technically the final set. The minifigures in this set are really cool. Although it doesn't make a lot of sense for Mrs. Puff to be there, I do like her inclusion. Though I'll be real, I don't like the flower on Mrs. Puff. This might be controversial, but since Mrs. Puff isn't a character we don't get very often, it would have been nice to just see a normal Mrs. Puff with this happy face. Because the only normal Mrs. Puff has her worrying, which is very fitting for Mrs. Puff as a character, but it would have been nice for variety's sake. The miscellaneous stuff in the set is fun. It provides some nice play features, though it doesn't make sense for Con Street to have a merry-go-round or a seesaw or anything like that. Wonder what that's all about. Did they rent them? But the biggest selling point has to be the exterior builds of the Pineapple and Squidward's house. In terms of exteriors alone, I think they are the best. For the exteriors alone, I think they are the best iterations of SpongeBob and Squidward's houses. The interior of the Pineapple is kind of lacking. Unfortunately, they don't even get his alarm clock right, instead just giving him a normal clock. The interior of Squidward's house is honestly the best one, because this is the second Squidward's house in Lego period. As one of the final sets and the best exteriors of the Pineapple, I'll give it an A tier. Sure, there's decorations, but this is actually, for once, an upside to having stickers, because you don't have to apply the stickers for the houses in the Undersea party set, so you can just have them on a regular day. The first Lego Krusty Krab. Oh boy, this one gives me a lot of nostalgia. I like the minifigures of SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs. They are very simple and effective, and are the first minifigures you'd probably associate with Lego SpongeBob, period. The Squidward minifigure is definitely creepy. I never liked him. Why did they give him such a creepy smile? Why did they give him like a minifigure head? It just doesn't look good. And there's a reason why a lot of people consider him one of the creepiest minifigures to date. But it has a lot of cool play features. I like the cash register and the grill being like a separate thing, and having the grill have like a launcher. I like how the dumpster's kind of a launcher. It's completely unnecessary, but it provides a cool play feature. And the little container that SpongeBob holds, where you can hold the Krabby Patties. I wonder what that's about. Is the goal to try to like launch the Krabby Patties into that thing? Also, there's a safe with a ton of money and Mr. Krabs' office that hides the Krabby Patty formula, which I think has a better formula design than Heroic Heroes of the Deep, despite it being a sticker. Could Lego do better nowadays? Oh, absolutely. But for the time, and for one of the first ever Lego SpongeBob sets, I will consider it S tier. To me, this is the definitive version of the Lego Krusty Krab, because Lego's Ideas is definitely not getting one. Boatmobile. This is also one of the very first Lego SpongeBob sets, and is actually the first one I have ever owned. And since I was a dumb 6 to 7 year old, I couldn't figure out how to build this. Thankfully, as I became more mature, I was able to build this. And this is actually the only Lego set that I actually own currently. I just found it at a Comic-Con and kept it ever since. This isn't the most accurate SpongeBob ever, but there are a lot of nitpicky things that I could complain about, like the lack of holes and like the belts being wrong and not having any fingers, but this still is a really, really good display piece. Not only that, but it has fun play features. It's based on the episode Plankton, where Plankton takes control over SpongeBob's brain, so we get a bigger Plankton minifigure, which is really sick. But there's a lot of Easter eggs, like there was like a painting from The Algae's Always Greener that they incorporated, and a blueprint. There's little things like a bubble launcher that you can use SpongeBob's mouth to shoot, which you could shoot out of SpongeBob's mouth, which is a nice use of the jellyfish pieces. I know it's called the chef hat piece, but I always associate them with jellyfish. I like how you can move the eyes, and you can change SpongeBob's face to be scared, which is very fitting given the circumstance. Honestly, S tier. This is a solid set. Bikini Bottom Adventures. Another one of the first sets, and the only one to include Patrick's Rock. Sadly, the Patrick Rock build kinda sucks. Honestly, the interiors of all of the houses are pretty lacking. There's nothing in there that would really be in the characters' houses other than SpongeBob's bed. But SpongeBob never had a basketball court. I felt like they just included that because, oh, the pineapple's orange and basketballs are orange. Let's give him a basketball hoop. I don't know. They could have done better with that. The boat that Patrick drives is really cool though. And I like the jellyfish launchers as well. So you can challenge your friends to a jellyfish fight. I have that commercial stuck in my head now. Also, Squidward's house is kind of lacking. Even though it does have a fun play feature of trying to launch jellyfish into the eyes and hit targets. Unfortunately, due to that play feature, Squidward's house is more lacking than SpongeBob's, because all we really have is like this blue thing that's like a bed, which I'm guessing is a bed, but it just looks very depressing. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, I'm pretty sure, but I'm gonna give it a B tier. The exteriors look really good, but a lot of the interiors of the builds aren't that great, and even though it has a lot of good play features, this isn't the definitive version of Constry in my opinion. Bikini Bottom Express. Such an odd choice, but a welcome one. I love the side builds too, like the bus stop and the ticket stand. And even though the Bikini Bottom bus isn't orange, it's more of a reddish, I do get why they made it orange, so they can use the orange window pieces. I also like how you can fit all the minifigures in the bus. They didn't skimp out on that angle. So honestly, I'm gonna give it an S. It's simple but effective. Sandy's Rocket. The first set with the Sandy minifigure. The glove roll does have the better of the two Sandys, but it is really cool to have a Sandy set, and having it be the Rocket makes perfect sense because it comes from a very early episode and a lot of people would know what that is. The side builds are really cool. The little vehicle with a bunch of jellyfish in it. I love the lifty thing to get up to the rocket. The rocket itself is a little lackluster, but you can fit all of them in the rocket, which is really cool and does have some neat stickers and little touches to make it more rockety. Plus, as a kid, I would just play with this rocket all day. The only downside I remember having was the red pieces that are used to make the rocket stand sometimes falls off, but I haven't had this set in years, so I could be wrong on that. I'll give it an A tier. The first and only emergency room set. I'm pretty sure this was a LEGO store exclusive. This was definitely the last green and white label LEGO SpongeBob set before they went to the yellow era. I was expecting more negative space with the emergency room, but honestly, the interior looks pretty solid. You get like a medicine cabinet, you get like a laptop, have like a place to store the hospital bed, you get an ambulance, which on the box it shows Patrick driving it, which is a little worrisome, but if I'm being completely honest, S here. This is a solid set. Krusty Krab Adventures. D. Off the bat, D. Out of all the ways to re-release the Krusty Krab for a modern audience, why did they have to downsize it this much? The paddy wagon's really cool, but the interior is so lacking and they get details wrong. Like, the sign has never been up there. The grill took a downgrade, the register took a downgrade. Everything is just a massive downgrade. The only good thing is really the paddy wagon and the minifigures, of course. So why did they put Patrick in instead of Squidward? The original Krusty Krab did a great job of putting Squidward in the Krusty Krab because that's where he should be. But I have a feeling they just left Squidward out so people could buy the next set, Good Neighbors at Bikini Bottom, which does feature Squidward. And off the bat, Squidward got a massive glow up. Honestly, this set has a lot of fun play features, like SpongeBob's bed, though it does suck how he doesn't have an alarm clock, but it's cool that his bed is still a launcher. There's the reef blower, which is a nice build. Probably the most random thing has to be Patrick with the with the marshmallow launcher. I'm not sure who came up with that, but it's definitely very weird, but it's really fun. There's like a barbecue that also has a play feature, and you can flip unauthorized Krabby Patties. Squidward has a cute stand. Even the interior of SpongeBob's pineapple, I think, is an improvement. There's not much, if I'm being honest, but the little decor on SpongeBob's walls definitely makes up for it. Plus, you already have so much of SpongeBob's interior, like his TV, his chair, and his bed. So you could just spread it open and put all of that inside. Though if I have to nitpick, a lot of these items are very easy to lose. So if you do get this set, I would recommend getting a bag or having a good place to display everything. But as it stands, S tier. I think this is the definitive version of SpongeBob's pineapple. The Chum bucket. Technically the biggest Chum bucket we have ever gotten. All of the inventions that are included, like the Krabby Patty robot, which Plankton tries shifting into maximum overdrive. I love Robot Bob's sponge shift pants. There's a tank in here for some reason, which would make sense now, but at that time, Plankton didn't really have a tank. And this was before Atlantis Scorpantus. So that was definitely an interesting choice. There's like a seesaw too, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's also like a robot from Plankton's army, which is also a nice Easter egg. And you can trap Spongebob into like a machine and like spin him around, which I'm assuming is how Plankton gets his brain into the robot chef. At this point in the series, Karen was a screen, so they just made her a screen, which makes perfect sense. Though personally, I prefer mobile Karen. She's a lot more expressive. The main downside I have with this is the exterior of the Chum bucket. It just doesn't look super accurate to me. I don't like the extra bolts. I get it for the play features, but it just very inaccurate. Also, the first floor is very lacking. I would have put in some chairs or something, like the little restaurant area there. I actually built the Chum bucket in that What If Lego SpongeBob Had a Comeback video, and that's actually what I did. Also, I love SpongeBob's minifigure. It's not that often that you get a shocked SpongeBob, like a sad SpongeBob. This is actually the only frowning SpongeBob minifigure. Even in the hospital, he's just smiling as he has like a bandage. So, it's great for facial variety. All things considered, I'll give it an A. And lastly, Mrs. Puff's boating school. This boating school is just one massive play feature. It's basically an entire course of trying to avoid obstacles, go through the flaming hoop, crashing into a wall, all as you try to get to the finish line. It makes perfect sense for a boating school set. The school itself has some nice Easter eggs. It's a very simple setup. You just have like these shell chairs and Mrs. Puff's desk and maybe a chalkboard. The downside is that you can't sit in the chairs, which kind of sucks. And the lighthouse is also very lacking, but I do get why it's lacking because at that point, we never saw the inside of the lighthouse. We don't see the inside of the lighthouse until season 12, I'm pretty sure. But I wish they added more to that. Also, I love his antenna. That's a nice reference to the very first boating school episode, and Patrick was his walkie-talkie. So honestly, A tier. I'll be honest, there was a lot more S tier sets than I was expecting. A lot of these sets are good, despite them being able to do better nowadays. I would love to see LEGO's take on a modern LEGO SpongeBob build, but once the license of LEGO SpongeBob expired, it got transferred to Mega Bloks, so let's discuss those, shall we? Also, just off the bat, I am not counting minifigure packs unless there is a build to them. I'm not including the blind bags as their own sets because that would just get kind of cluttered. But the first set is Krusty Krab Attack. Off the bat, the exterior, even though the doors don't open, are a lot better than the Krusty Krab in LEGO. And I like the way it opens up too. Even though the doors inside don't open either, they make for a nice visual touch. I even like the sign. Like, it's a little finicky because the gimmick is that it falls on people, but there's also cool features like a Krabby Patty launcher, a plate thrower that you can use to launch at a SpongeBob robot, and less spatula, which is also a nice reference. Also, one thing I really appreciate off the bat is they give SpongeBob a spatula, which is something that LEGO has never done, and I never understood that. And Plankton's on his little mechanical robot thing as well, which looks really cool. Honestly, it looks cooler than the LEGO one. I also like how they go back to its roots by having the original Krusty crew there. They don't add Patrick in replacement of Squid, as it should be. It's basically a mixture of the LEGO Krusty Krab and the Chum bucket in terms of play features, but honestly, I give it an S tier. The Invisible Boatmobile Rescue. Now this should have been Heroic Heroes of the Deep. I love the build of this thing, and I love how it's all clear pieces. LEGO would never. And Plankton has a little bulldozer, which is a less interesting build if I'm being honest, but it does make sense for a superhero set to have a villain. Personally, I would have included Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble instead and have their vehicle. That's actually what I did in my LEGO SpongeBob comeback video. The one downside I do have with this set, which I have a problem with Mega Bloks in general, are the jellyfish launching. Like, At this point, it was a new concept, so it makes sense. But after a while, they started overusing that concept, and I honestly don't like the jellyfish pieces. They're like squishy, which is very accurate to SpongeBob, but it's not so good for longevity. Also, I love SpongeBob and Patrick in their Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy cosplay. I know originally they had them as the Quickster and the Elastic Waistband, but it does make perfect sense for this set to have them be MM and BB instead. Though I wish we did get those Quickster and Elastic Waistbands in like a minifigure set or something, because they are iconic. But as it stands, A tier. Beach Resort Figure Pack. First off, this should have been Goo Lagoon. You can easily shape this into Goo Lagoon, and it has a lot of attributes that could be in Goo Lagoon, so why didn't they just make this Goo Lagoon? But I feel like since this is a figure pack, I should really critique the figures themselves. And they're not too shabby. All the characters are in their beach attires. I love Mr. Krabs' little life jacket. Patrick's wearing a similar outfit as he did in Enchanted Tiki Dreams. And I love how Squidward's just in his life jacket too, just screaming for his life because he's just water skiing. And the background fish look pretty cool too. It's a nice variety, so if you need crowd scenes for your Mega Bloks stop motions, you can easily have those. Also, the SpongeBob minifig is really cool. Oh, and Gary's in this set, and I won't lie, he's kinda creepy. A tier. I don't have much to say on like SpongeBob's Racer. It has a nice color scheme, though I know the jets easily fall off. B tier. Patrick's is kinda bizarre because his is a Viking theme. I don't get what's up with that. Does it look cool? Yeah, but it's very, very random. Also B tier. SpongeBob Wacky Pack. It's just as bad. One thing I do find cool about Mega Bloks over Lego is that it does have nice smaller builds to not only extend the world, but for people who can't really afford the bigger sets. But then again, the bigger sets are honestly pretty cheap too. That's one advantage Mega Bloks does have over Lego, the price. Sadly, the value did go up over the years, but it still looks really good. But it's still a lot better than Lego. Honestly, A tier. The minifigure's really cute, and the bed is definitely a lot better than Lego. The downside is that it doesn't really have the bamboo things that the Life Preserver supports. So that kind of sucks, especially since they could do that for a smaller set. One thing I would do, personally, is take the Lego SpongeBob bed, take those bamboo pieces and put it on the Mega Bloks one. Oh, and Patrick's little headpiece as SpongeBob's nightcap is really cute. It's a really cute piece usage. Patrick's Wacky Pack. Honestly, S tier. I'm gonna give it an S tier. It's simple. It's the first instance of a normal Patrick minifigure. Patrick's chair has like basically the same feature as the SpongeBob one, but it does make sense to include. I like the ice cream build, though. If you use it for too long, it eventually just falls off. Mine definitely has that issue, unfortunately. Rock Band Figure Pack. This is so random, but it's pretty cool. Although I don't like how SpongeBob's face is identical to the Racers one. He has a different costume, at least. Toy Fair, they gave him a different expression, and I wish they kept that. I like the Rockstar fish minifigures. I like Plankton's makeup. Squidward being happy is a nice change. There's not much to build in this set, so honestly, I'm gonna give it a C. The minifigures are cool. I just wish there was a lot more to build. Oh, fun fact, Mega Bloks is actually the only line to have a movie tie-in, because Sponge Out of Water is the only movie with buildable sets. But the first one is a photo booth time machine, which is a nice small build. It's really cute, and I do like the gimmick of it spinning and having SpongeBob turn into SpongeGar. Though, I'm gonna be honest, that is kind of false advertising because due to that set, I thought SpongeGar was gonna be in the movie, but he wasn't. That was clearly just there for the play feature. A tier. It's a cute build. I am only giving it A because of the slight false advertising of it. Next up is the Boatmobile Showdown. Unfortunately, mine broke. So if you get this set, be very careful. My main downside with this set is the lack of minifigures. And I know why too. Invincible and Sir Pinch-A-Lot are in this set, but Mr. Super Awesomeness and Sournow are in a minifigure pack. They just did this so you can get the minifigures in the blind bag. They're encouraging you to get the blind bags. I don't really like it that much. I wish all 4 of them were just in there. Also, despite it having Burger Beard's ship, it doesn't have Burger Beard, which is sort of bizarre. I guess the thought process is due to like the size inconsistency, but they're human sized and they're superhero forms, so I don't really think that's big of an excuse. I'm gonna give it a B tier though. Welcome to the apocalypse, Mr. Squidward. I hope you like leather. The Post-Apocalypse figure set kinda has sort of the same issues I have with the Rock Band set, but I do like this a little better. The donut thing is pretty cool. It has some minor side builds, but honestly it doesn't do much still. Even though the minifigures are really cool, I especially love Patrick's. That looks something straight out of the movie. I feel like they just put a screenshot of the movie on like a plate and just called it a day. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a B. It's definitely better than Rock Band though. Next up is Pickle Tank Attack. That doesn't feature pickles, like at all. To my knowledge, I don't think that thing he's shooting is a pickle. Personally, I would have made the tank bigger, but I do like how it's a more affordable set. It does have a lot of cool set pieces from the movie, like the ketchup blaster, the mayo, and of course the tank. Honestly, A tier. But the main selling factor for me had to be the Tartar Bomber. It just looks so cool. It's very accurate to the movie. I love SpongeBob's minifigure. I love Plankton's face in it. And it's a nice display piece. When I first got into college, I had this on display for a while until bigger sets just naturally took its place because I'm a collector. I'm gonna give this an S tier. It's pretty badass. Bike Racer. This one is a bizarre choice. I don't understand why SpongeBob merchandise always gives him a motorcycle. It is very 2000s core, I will give it that. I did have a poster of SpongeBob and Patrick on motorcycles as a kid, so it does give me a little bit of nostalgia. Plus there was a Jack Pacific set with him on a motorcycle. I'll give it an A tier. Gary's still creepy though. And Patrick has the paddy wagon. Honestly, this is a better one than the Viking one. I wish they just started with this one if I'm being completely honest. And it's a better build than the Lego one. I like the cheese pieces, I like the lettuce, and I love how the wheels are pickles. That's something that Lego never did. They just made them generic wheels. S tier. The Mr. Krabs Racer. They put Mr. Krabs' racer in like a little tube, just like the SpongeBob and Patrick ones, but they re-released it to put them in the boxes. But SpongeBob and Patrick didn't get the same treatment, so I wonder what's up with that. It's just a generic boat, to be honest. On theme for Mr. Krabs, but it's not very interesting. C tier. Pirate figure pack. Yep, that's what it is indeed. It is a pirate figure pack. I do like the raft, but personally I would have gone with a ship. Maybe the Dutchman ship, or maybe Mr. Krabs' ship in Arg. One of those two would have been nice. But I do like the minifigures in this set. I do like the inclusion of Sandy, because he's typically not featured in the pirate adventures. Honestly, I'm gonna give it a B tier. Could have been better. Sandy Wacky Pack. This one is just a fidget toy. I'm just gonna be blunt. You just spin 2 karate gloves. And I don't know. I think they could have come up with something a little more creative. So honestly, I'd only recommend this set for the Sandy minifigure, because this was the first time we ever got a Sandy minifigure, so I can't fault it for that. I'll give it a B tier. I'm a little generous today. Wacky Jim. This is just a cute display piece. Not much in terms of builds, if I'm being honest. It's just SpongeBob lifting weights, but I really like the minifigure in this one. But for the sake of fairness, I'm gonna give it a B. Wacky Surfing. Massive points for originality, because we get some Larry the Lobster rep. It's a bloody miracle if we get anything Larry the Lobster. The gimmick of this set is basically just a slingshot, so at least it provides for a nice play feature. You know what, I'll give it an A tier. Wacky Wrestling. I actually put this set in my Lost Media video because for a while there wasn't much documentation on this. But someone in the comments section did tell me about this Korean YouTuber who did discuss this set. And from the looks of it, it's very lackluster. But you wanna know something that would have made this less lackluster? Adding SpongeBob. Just go nuts with it. Have it be SpongeBob and Patrick wrestling like they did in the Fry Cook games. I don't get why they keep excluding muscular SpongeBob whenever they do a muscular Patrick. They're made for each other. Funko Pops did this too, I'm sick of it. C tier. Squidward Racer. Same thing with the Mr. Krabs one. It started off in a tube, was re-released as a box, and even though it's better than Mr. Krabs, it's still kind of generic. Doesn't really reflect Squidward all that much. C tier. Sandy Rocket Racer. I never owned this set, and there's really no documentation on it, but I'll give them props. It's an original take on Sandy's rocket. This should have been Sandy's starter set, because it's at least a build. Honestly, this is probably my favorite out of the builds. Out of the racers, just in general. I'm giving it A tier. Squidward Dragster. This one also doesn't have any documentation on it. Unique build, though it's kind of bizarre. Why did they make Squidward a pirate? He should have been in the pirate set if I'm being completely honest. B tier. It's at least better than his first racer set. Finally something juicy. Bad Neighbors. Exterior wise, this looks phenomenal. Definitely better than Lego. I love how the pineapple looks more rounded. Though the main downside that I have with this set is the lack of interior. Like, you could theoretically put SpongeBob's bed into the pineapple house, but it's just empty. All it really has is a food bowl and a few paintings. And I get that he has like the jellyfish shooter, which again is getting old, but they could have fit at least a chair. Maybe the television. They had room, so utilize it. Also, Squidward's house gets it worse. It doesn't even have an interior. He's been reduced to a bathtub gimmick. Though it is funny how we do get a naked Squidward minifigure, and SpongeBob's minifigure is also pretty good. I say both of the goods and bad parts of this set kind of balance each other out, so I'm just gonna give it a C. Monster Rally Boat. This one is kind of random. It's pretty cool, though I don't understand why they keep making SpongeBob drive when he doesn't have a license. B tier. Wacky Burger. This was another set I saw from that Korean YouTuber. Thanks to the comment section of the Lost Media video that I've done. I'll be blunt, this doesn't really need to exist. I like the chef hat, and the table and stuff, but is this really necessary when we have the Krusty Krab? C. Jellyfish Baseball. I believe this is the last Mega Bloks set I've ever owned. I might be showing a little bias. I'm not crazy about the jellyfish gimmick. At this point, it has overstayed its welcome, and it doesn't make a lot of sense here because why are they using jellyfish at baseballs? Especially when they have a baseball? Just use the fucking baseball. Honestly, this set is just animal cruelty. I don't like it. D. Goofy Golf. Well, I'll give them points for originality. This episode doesn't really get referenced often. I don't get why Fred's here though. I do like him for minifigure variety. I think he's more fitting in like one of the minifigure packs, or maybe they should have put him in the Krusty Krab. But I enjoy SpongeBob and Patrick's minifigures a lot, and Squidward in his nightshirt. Though I'll be honest, I'm not sure how the actual golf really works. Did they make it a slingshot where you like hit Squidward with it? That's how it looks like on the box. I don't know. I've never seen this set in person. I've never owned this. We tried getting it on the Mega Bloks set, but it shut down, but it just didn't exist. It wasn't selling, and there's no documentation of this online. This is technically lost media. I'll give them points for not making it jellyfish launching again, because that was getting old. I'll give it an A tier. And last but not least, SpongeBob Block Pants. I actually have this set on display right next to my Build-A-Bob. This is like almost an exact revert of the Build-A-Bob from Lego. Lego had a brick build minifigure. This one just has SpongeBob for some reason. It would have been more fitting if it was Plankton, if I'm being honest, especially with the Krabby Patty. The Build-A-Bob has ridges on the sides. Mega Bloks has ridges on the top. Lego has a flat mouth. Mega Bloks has a detailed mouth. Lego has big eyes, and Mega Bloks has these cursed small ones for some reason. So it's really a pick your poison. I do like the Krabby Patty build. The fact that it's a piggy bank is less impressive, but it does make for a nice display piece, which is why I have it on display. Give it an A tier. If it wasn't for the eyes, I'd probably make it higher. And that was my ranking of the Mega Bloks sets. Definitely a lot more A's than Lego, but Lego has more S's. I don't know, it's kind of weird comparing these two because their focus is very different. Lego is more towards making iconic locations, while Mega Bloks is more focused on minifigures and like small gimmicky sets, to the point where I really had like a hard time picking between the two. I might like Lego a little more solely because that has more longevity. A lot of my Mega Bloks sets have seen better days. Sometimes the arms of the minifigures just fall off. The jellyfish net of the Spongebob block pants has seen better days. So I say Lego is a lot better in that front, so if you get Mega Bloks, please be careful. But anyway, what Lego or Mega Bloks set is your favorite? And what do you think of my tier list? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you mixed on it? Comment below. And as always, it's all Sab from here.